new to growing tomatoes, you may well have been astounded at the varieties we have on offer these days, whether it's looking at a seed catalogue, looking online, my goodness, going to the supermarket, going to a garden centre. There are so many different shapes, sizes, varieties, names to go for nowadays that it can be really daunting, in as much as it could just put you off growing tomatoes altogether. So what I want to do today is try and just make it a little bit easier by trying to help you narrow down the choices that you have in front of you, by looking at exactly what it is that you want from your tomato. So I think the first thing we need to sort of consider is, what do you want your tomatoes for? Do you want them? Let's put them into categories. Right. I would say my first category, and one of my favourites, I don't grow too many plants, but it's definitely one I wouldn't be without, is what I would call a snacking tomato. And by this I mean a small cherry type tomato. Rarely makes it home from the plot because it is just an absolute delight to pick while you're up there and pop it in your mouth like sweets. They're usually really, really sweet, really juicy, only small, hence the name cherry tomatoes. And maybe the most popular one in this country, in the UK, for a long time has been Sungold. The next type, and the most common type, I would say, and the type you would usually find in the supermarkets, are what you'd call your salad tomatoes. So a golf ball sized tomato, usually red. Certainly in the supermarkets they're usually red, although they're all getting wider ranges nowadays. And these, like the snacking tomatoes, will have quite a high water ratio, quite a lot of seeds, and they make it so that it's really, really juicy, so that when you cut into them you can eat them raw and you get that real tang, that wonderful tomato fresh flavour that you only get from growing your own. You might want a cooking tomato. And when I say cooking, the difference between your cooking tomato and your salad tomato is that it's going to have a much higher flesh to seed ratio, so that when you cut through it and when you cook it, instead of it all evaporating away, you get real body to that tomato. They can also be known as your beefsteak tomatoes, but they are perfect for roasting, for canning, for making sauces, for making soups. So try and think that you're not just wanting tomatoes for the immediate here and now, but they are something that is a great thing to have to keep you going over the winter months as well. And the fourth category that I have chosen is just pure showing off tomatoes. And when I say this, what I mean is you might want to grow it for the size, you might want to grow it for the shape. There's some incredible, like, really deep ribbed tomatoes nowadays. You might want to get it for the colours. Oh my goodness, if you thought tomatoes were just red, purple, yellow, stripy, green, pink, orange, it's crazy. So if you want to show off to your friends and they come for a bite to eat and just have a plate full of tomatoes, just imagine how all those different colours look together. You might want to consider the growth habit. Oh no, what's the growth habit? Okay, this is another thing that you might find on the back of the seed packet that might completely have you running for the hills and saying, no more, I don't want these stupid tomatoes anyway, because you will hear names, depending where you are in the world, depending where you are in the country, you will hear of things such as vine tomatoes, determinate tomatoes, indeterminate tomatoes, bush tomatoes, microbush tomatoes, cordon tomatoes, and basically they are all different names for what I would consider two main types of tomatoes. So you have got your bush tomatoes, which have got a more compact habit, so they don't grow, they're not like these great big tall ones you would see in a greenhouse. They're perfect for if you've got a windowsill, for example. They will grow to a certain height, 2 or 3 foot tall. They grow quite bushy, so when you're looking after them you wouldn't take the side shoots out as you would with the other tomato. You will leave them as they are, and otherwise you will reduce the crop. Then you have got your indeterminate varieties, so your cordon tomatoes, your vine tomatoes, they are the ones that are indeterminate. They don't stop. They don't stop until you pinch them out at the tips when they've got to the height you want them to be. So these are the ones that you see going right up in the greenhouse to the roof, over polytunnels. They're just incredible looking. But with them, you need to stop the growth. You take the side shoots out, so they need a little bit more care than your bush tomatoes. But yes, these are the ones that I tend to stick with in the polytunnel. So think about the type of tomato you want, what you want it for, colour, size, shape, do they matter? What space do you have to grow it in? What sort of growth habit do you want it to have? And just when you think that you've got it sussed and you've got it completely narrowed down, someone will come up to you and say, have you tried one of these before? And this is what's happened to me. If I can just reach over and show you. I mean, at the moment, it looks like any old tomato plant, doesn't it? Quite nice. Lovely growth habit there, potted on beautifully. And this is very, very well, I've got 3 of them actually, have very, very kindly been passed on to me from Adi, from Adi's Veg Garden. I'll put a link that's in the description below. And these are actually micro bush tomatoes. Now, whether I've heard of them under a different name or not, I don't know, but it came up in a discussion over, oh, it's getting water everywhere, let's put it back. It came up in a discussion over on Danny's live chats over at the Grow Up channel, and I had never heard of microbush tomatoes, and apparently they grow, they're perfect sort of house plants if you like. They grow to about yay high, about a foot high, and the tomatoes grow so closely together. I think they grow on the stems or between the stems and the sides. I'm looking at them now, I can't believe I'm actually going to get a harvest of tomatoes out of them. And that's what's beautiful. You look at the seeds and you think, I can't believe it's a plant, and then you think, I can't believe that plant's going to give me fruit, etc. But yeah, so even after all these years, there's always a surprise around the corner. So with that, has that helped me narrow down my choice this year? If you look here, actually, you will see that most of these tomatoes are saved seeds and they've been passed on by other tomato growers. There's only very few actual seed packets, but what I will do, I'm just going to mention a couple because I'll probably be all afternoon sorting these out, but the ones I am definitely going to grow, and these have been recommended by other people, is a tomato called Midnight Snack. Now this is from the lovely Rue over at Rue's Live, and she swore by this last year. It's got a beautiful, it's just a beautiful colour even before it ripens. It's got that deep purple and lime green, and then it goes to this gorgeous, gorgeous deep purple and red. And that, let me see, deep red juicy flash with a balanced sugar acid taste. That's another thing I've discovered about tomatoes, the taste. I always used to think the sweeter the better, but a couple of years ago I grew Bragg's Atomic Grape, and the taste blew me away. It was unlike any other tomato I'd ever tasted, and I think that is what's such a treat if you haven't grown tomatoes before. The variety of flavours you can get is quite incredible. So that's a definite. The lovely Shireen sent me a packet of, oh, I can't find it now, of a honeycomb tomato. Okay, and thank you so much, Shireen. And this is meant to be a replacement for the Sun Gold, which I mentioned earlier, because the problem with Sun Gold, although it's sweet and beautiful, it tends to split quite easily. And apparently the honeycomb tomatoes have got the same sweetness, if not more so, but they don't split the same. So thank you, Shireen, for that. I've got Adi from the Microbush Tomatoes has given me one called Grushovka. I think it's more of a beefsteak tomato, so I'm going to try that one. And then 2 more I'm really excited about this year. These, I've got Barry's Crazy Cherry from Robin, and these, again, cherry tomatoes, but if you look them up, they just look like the plant is covered in trusses of bright yellow fruit. So I'm excited about that one. And the other one, and this one is from Ali, thank you Ali, is Alice Dream Tomato, which I'm trying to think who said it was their favourite ever tomato. I think it was from Chris from the Veg Plot, just said it was absolutely beautiful. Chris, if it's not you, I'm attributing it to you anyway, but you certainly brought it to my attention, so I'm going to grow those. So those are the favourites of the ones that I've been sent this year, and then I'm going to have to look through and think, okay, that's a small one, that's a small one. I've got my categories, so I am going to sit down, cup of tea, sort these out, and I hope that that has helped you decide which tomatoes you might go for, why you're going to go for them, and where you're going to grow them. Do let me know in the comments below what you're trying and what's new to you this year, and what's your favourite tomatoes so far, because I'd be, not just me be interested to know, but I think the other people who read the comments, it'd be really, really useful to hear what you're growing out there. So hopefully that's been useful to you. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.